What I'm about to say might sound controversial, but you can't help hitting the ground. I don't care how good your anti-grappling techniques are. At some point or another, we're all going to hit the floor. Hard. And this isn't just because you're going to get thrown by some wrestler or jiu-jitsu player. Falling and martial arts training go together like puking in the toilet and an Arby's lunch special. It's just what happens, and you knew the risk when you came in the door. And to that end, today we're going to go over the technique known as Ukemi, or the judo art of breakfalling, to learn how to protect ourselves from the floor. If you've made it this far, be sure to subscribe and turn notifications on. That way, you never miss a new video. Generally speaking, there are two kinds of Ukemi. There's the first kind, where you use the momentum given to you by your opponent to bring yourself back to your feet by rolling. But there's also the type of Ukemi where you stop yourself on the ground, either so you can go into defending yourself while you're down there, or if you're doing partner drills, so your partner can finish the technique he or she is trying to do. Neither option is preferable. It's just dependent on what you're trying to do and how much space you have to move around in. But both options protect you from getting hurt when you hit the ground. You might be saying, rolling across the ground sounds harder and less applicable than just breakfalling on the ground. And in a lot of ways you're right, but teaching breakfalls is much easier once you already know how to roll and get back to your feet. So that's why we're starting with the rolls. In this case, we're going to do the forward roll. We're going to start from our knees on the ground. Eventually, we're going to graduate up to full standing, but right now, let's start right here. I'm going to pick a leg, doesn't matter which one, and put it flat on the ground. My rear leg is going to have either my instep on the ground or on the balls of my feet. Doesn't matter for what we're going to do right now. I'm going to take the hand opposite of my posted foot and put it in line with that foot. From there, I'm going to take my free hand and thread the needle that was created by my hand and posting foot. From here, I'm reaching back behind me, forcing my forward shoulder to face the ground. As I do this, I'm going to turn my head to the side my hand is going. That way I don't risk slamming my beautiful, perfect nose straight into the ground. At this point, this posted foot is going to push off the ground as if I was going to go into a sprint. As I do that, my rear leg is going to swing up and towards the front direction, which looks like this. We call this the shoulder roll because the shoulder is the mechanic that we roll over. But the first thing that makes contact with the ground is actually my forearm. When I reach through here, my forearm touches the ground. Then I bring it up to my tricep, up to the shoulder, then the roll happens across my opposite hip. From standing, obviously the position of this roll changes, but the mechanics don't. The only thing that really changes is that now, instead of kneeling and threading the needle from here, I'm going to lean over my posted leg, and the needle's going to happen more or less in the air. So, if I try to roll from up here, that's a long way to the ground. However, I'm going to cheat by leaning forward over my leg so that now the roll isn't happening from this high, it's happening from this high. So, I lean, reach out with this hand, and thread the needle with my forward hand. At that point, I do the exact same thing that I did while I was kneeling. Notice I'm not slamming into the ground. Even as I move towards the ground, I'm making sure to receive and move with it. I'm constantly moving to dissipate the impact of my body hitting the ground. If I stop, all I'm doing is slamming. I want to break the force of that impact across multiple parts of my body. And I want to make sure that I'm exhaling when I roll. Because if I hold my breath and I do slam, boom, I'm going to get the wind knocked out of me. So, once again, I'm here, I lean forward. There's my forward roll. Now let's talk about our second roll, which is going to be the back roll. The first thing I need to do is get comfortable laying back onto the ground. We can do this a few different ways, but the way I like to do it is with a little rock. So, what I'm going to do is cross my arms in front of my body, sit back on my butt, paint my back across the ground, and return back to my original position. Once again, I'm here and here. You can see I'm creating a little momentum from the legs to help bring me back to my position. That's just to get me back to here. But if you notice, that momentum is already creating the direction I need to go for my roll. Because once I'm down here, I've already done most of the movement I need to do my roll. I'm going to fall back onto the ground. From here, I'm going to pick a direction to turn my head, either towards the camera to my right or away from the camera to my left. The direction I turn my head is going to be the same direction I kick my legs up over through the needle created by my shoulder and my head. So I fall backwards into this position, kick back, boom, there's my roll. With a little momentum, it looks like this. Fall back, swing, and there, I do my roll over the shoulder, not over the head. To do the back roll from standing, not a lot changes. We just have to put ourselves into the squatting position. So, I start here, and I'm gonna throw my butt back like I was gonna fall straight onto it. But we know that's not the goal. The goal from here is to paint myself across the ground. At this point, these arms as brakes are super important, because if I don't do that, I run the risk of hitting too fast and slamming my upper back onto the ground, which is not what I want to do. So, from here, I'm going to squat down, reach for the ground with my butt, slam my arms onto the ground as brakes, and then from there, it's just a regular roll. All together, it looks like this. Back up to standing, ready to go. Other direction, I come here, squat down. This last one is the most neglected roll, but I think that's only because people don't realize how often they actually have to do it. It's called the side roll, but you could think of it as a bailout roll or a last-ditch forward roll, because the two are basically the exact same thing. The only difference is, when I do the forward roll, I'm rolling towards 12 o'clock. With the side roll, however, I'm going to still face 12, however the roll is going to happen at either 3 or 9 o'clock. I'm going to lean over my front leg. I'm going to make the needle that I need to make with my arms just like I do with the forward roll. At this point, I just fall forward and there's my side roll. The only thing that's different is that I'm facing 12 o'clock while rolling either to 3 or 9. Like I said, it's the bailout roll. It's very rare you actually get thrown directly forward, but they're often going to try to take you over your right or your left side. So, while it's not as emphasized in martial arts as the forward roll, I think the side roll is one that we should all be practicing. That'll do it for our rolls. Now, let's move on to our break falls. In this case, we're going to start with the one you already know, the back break fall. This should look familiar to you. I'm going to start in a low squatting position, and from here, I'm just going to paint myself across the ground. Again. Now, there were some things different in that back break fall, but for the most part, it's just the first half of the back roll. And that's because our break falls come from the rolls. Fancy that. It's like there's a reason I decided to do them like this. Anyway, let's go over what's different. With the back roll, I let my butt paint its way up to my back to create the momentum for the back roll. However, with the back break fall, I'm trying to create downward force so that I can stop myself from getting hurt on the ground. So what I'm going to do, instead of painting myself across the ground, I'm going to jump back onto the ground, which looks like this. An important thing to note is that I'm not stopping the ground with my arms. The instinct will be, as I fall backwards, to post out with this hand, which puts a lot of pressure on my wrist, elbow, and shoulder. And eventually, one of those is going to cave under the pressure. So, you might get lucky the first few times you do this, especially if you're doing it on a soft, forgiving floor. But don't count on that always happening. It's much safer to protect yourself when you're doing the back break fall, rather than snapping the joints while you're doing it. And again, keeping ourselves safe is the entire point of this video, so don't break your wrist while you're doing the back break fall. The goal is to slap the ground with your hand, not stop the ground with your hand. To get back to my feet, I can do what I've been doing, where I rock myself forward, or as you saw me doing earlier, I can do the technical stand-up. In which case, I pick a side, put one hand on the ground to post myself out. I'm going to put the other foot flat on the ground. I'm going to kick this leg out in front of me as if there was an opponent there and I'm kicking in the shins or in the hip. Then I'm going to use this leg to thread the needle created by my hand and my shoulder. I bring the leg back, stand up, and boom, I'm ready to go again. Once again, I'm here, turn, kick, up, ready to go. Break fall number 2 or Ukemi number 5 if you're counting that way. This is going to be the standard break fall or the side break fall. What this looks like is, once again, from my squatting position, I'm going to take a leg, doesn't matter which one, to kick out in front of me or slightly at an angle. This is going to entice me to fall in that direction. So, from here I kick my leg out, fall to the side, boom. I have landed on one side of my body and once again use my arm as a brake to slow myself down. The other hand comes up here ready to engage. This foot is going to either hang out here or post down on the ground. So once again, I'm here, my leg kicks out, I fall on my side, break with the arm, and then from here, I'm ready to go, either engaging from the ground or stand up, ready to fight at the Applebee's again. What I want you to pay attention to is that I'm not landing on my back. I'm not only falling towards a side, I'm falling on my side. Facing the other direction, I kick the leg out, fall over, and at no point did my back go flat on the ground. I stayed on the side that I fell towards. Since I'm already going to be falling in this direction, I just go with the energy that was given towards me. I still have plenty of surface area to dissipate the impact of the fall, from the top of my shoulders all the way down to my hips. I just want to make sure the entire body hits the ground from that angle, not just the hip, not just the ribs, not just the shoulder. And once you feel comfortable enough, you graduate up to standing, and nothing really changes about the side break fall. I start from here, kick the leg across, fall to my side, and boom, here I am. Again, other leg, I'm here, and then I stand up, ready to go again. Now, you might not like practicing it that way. You might feel forcing yourself to the side is a little awkward, in which case, there's another way you can get yourself to the side break fall, and it's using a technique we've already learned, the forward roll. So, from here, I'm going to do a forward roll, but instead of coming up to my feet, I'm going to end in a side break fall, which looks like this. I roll. As I travel, I'm going to slap the ground with my free arm and use that leg and slapping arm as brakes to stop myself from getting back up. From here, I end up in the break fall position. The last break fall, and the final Ukemi we're going to talk about today, is the front break fall. Now, the front break fall is probably the one you're going to have to do the least in your martial arts training, but it is the one you're going to have to do the most in life. Because more often than not, we fall while we're walking forward. Either we trip over something in our way, or our feet get stuck underneath us, something happens that forces us to fall forwards and break our nose. And the goal of the front break fall is to prevent that from happening. Now, I will warn you, the front break fall can be pretty painful. But the choice is you either have sore arms from slapping them onto the ground, or you crack open your head. You can pick one. I'm going to start, once again, from the low squatting position. Just like we did with the back break fall, where we had to spring ourselves backwards, I'm going to spring myself forward now. So, from here, I'm going to spring myself forward and catch myself on the ground, on my forearms and my hands. I'm going to turn my head to the side, just like I did when I was doing the forward roll and the back break fall. It all looks like this. I'm making sure to turn my head so my nose doesn't hit the ground, and I'm keeping my hips above the ground so I don't rock my stomach and lose my breath. Now, as to what my arms are doing, I like making a pizza, meaning my fingertips are meeting here and I'm keeping my elbows away from each other. You might find comfort in making the French fries with your arms parallel to each other. Doesn't really matter. I just like the safety of knowing that if I don't turn my head in time, my hands are still there to catch my nose. Now, you can do the French fries if you want, but if you French fry when you should have pizzaed, you're gonna have a bad time. So I work myself up to standing. Now from here, nothing changes except what my legs are gonna do. Instead of trying to spring myself forward, I'm gonna try to jump my legs back out of the way so that I'm forced to go straight down and do the break fall. All of it looks like this. Notice, I'm not stopping the ground with my hands. I'm not coming here and trying to put them down on the ground. Just like with the other break falls we've done today, if I do that, I run the risk of hyperextending my elbow or breaking my wrist. All right, y'all, there you have it. 6 Ukemi techniques you could take with you to keep you safe, not only in your martial arts training, but as well as throughout your life. Like I said earlier, self-defense isn't only about fighting. Yes, the fight training is the fun part, and it's where we get to express a good portion of the things we learn in self-defense, but it's not all of self-defense. I would categorize remaining healthy and injury-free as self-defense, since it's teaching you to defend yourself from yourself. Anyway, now I'm just being needlessly poetic. However, if you guys are into that, and if you're looking for a channel that combines the practicality of combat sports with the reality of self-defense and the fun of traditional martial arts, then please be sure to subscribe, tap the notification bell, like, leave a comment, and share the video with your friends. All of that support really helps me out, and it helps me keep putting out these great videos week after week. As always, you guys, this has been Rob from Combat Self-Defense. I want to thank you for all the hard work. Thank you for the hard work yet to be done, and I'll see you next time.